On this laboratory episode, we're going to show you how to access this side of the mausoleum. This is a parts mausoleum. I found one that was not in the best of shape at the Goodwill for a couple of bucks, so I use it for parts. That's why this isn't attached, because I've already taken parts out of it to repair other houses. But I have a question on how to get in here, because you can't pull it out the bottom and you can't push it out the front because the plate's too big. So let's figure out how to get out the crypt section. First thing you're probably going to have to do is get a spudger or a small screwdriver, possibly heat this area up. I have a little slot here that you stick the corner in and crack the glue. That's why I said heat it up. This has been sitting around for so long it actually just broke really easy. And pull this top section out. Because again it's a parts house, I'm just going to disconnect this wire from the circuit board and this wire from the other side, since they're wired together, since the eyes inside light up. There we go. So all the power comes into this one. It's the reason it has the blob chip. And then this is the signal it gets from the main circuit board, which is right here. Goes up to this, which has the blob chip, and then it sends the signal over to this side. Right there. If you have the mausoleum or seen it, these little lights turn on in patterns. In my other video I show you how to get in so you can fix the lights. And little eyeballs appear in the, I don't know, sky dome light thingy. I don't know what to call it. Once you do that, you can see down inside, and there's screws. Little screws that hold on this front fascia. So, we're going to need a little screwdriver, a little Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to just pull the light circuit board that's in here that lights up when this drawer opens. It provides the light inside out of my way. So that way I can get in here. And there's one screw dead center in the front. I'm going to take this one out first, because I believe this is what holds on the fascia. The reason I say that is it looks like it's just a tab that goes forward. Of course, now I need to get the screw out. I'll use some longer than necessary needle nose pliers. You know, go big or go home. Pull out the screw. So that has loosened this fascia, but now the drawer door is stuck. I'm wondering if I can maneuver this faceplate in a way that I can get the drawer door to go through. The door is a square, the hole is a square. Sometimes if you turn things you can get them to slide out at an angle. And sometimes you can't. But we're going to try. That doesn't go through. I only got one corner through. Let's see if I can get another corner through. Here we go. It's two corners. Now if I can just slide it off, that'd be great. There we go. Alright. So here's the mechanism. And the guy's missing, of course. There's a little guy that pops up on this plate. Right there. There's his legs. He sits up when the drawer's out, and he lays down and the drawer goes in. So what I ended up doing was, there's the hole. And you can see the door goes in if you turn it sideways. So that's what I did inside the porcelain house. So that's out of the way. So here's how this comes out. There might be an easier way. That screw I reached down inside is right here. You can see where the dirt, where the dust isn't touching. And that was this tab right here. This This and this are just alignment tabs, so I'll show you. So we'll put this back through. The tab on the left is a spacer. The tab on the right goes over, because it's the two-fingered one. And then this one that was in the bottom, so let's take this back out. This guy is a spacer with an alignment. That's why it is a stepped tab. It basically keeps this square, so this mechanism goes back and forth without binding inside that fascia. Keeps everything straight for you. So that's the easiest way to take this out that I know of. It's the first time I've ever done it right here on camera. The only thing I did before I turned on the camera was I cut off the rest of the foam bottom that was right here. Because when I took this apart for parts, I just cut it here and pulled the guts out. I didn't take this section. So everything you saw was done in real time. So when the drawer comes out, the little motor right here drives it. There's a little transmission or gearbox right there. It pushes this out. And when its stopping point is this little micro switch right here. Right there. I'll use a screwdriver so my finger is not blocking it. This is a micro switch that tells when the drawer is all the way at full extension. When it goes fully out, this piece of wire, it's bent both ends like a wishbone, or not wishbone, like a femur bone, is on this tab, which pushes the guy into the upright position. When the motor's turning back, this centerpiece right here goes back, pulling the body or torso down so it can go back in. When it goes back in, it's not turning because I don't have the motor engaged. You can see right here, this micro switch tells it to stop. If this micro switch wasn't there, the motor would keep pulling it in, pulling it in, pulling it in, and it wouldn't go anywhere, and you'd end up either spinning the gear off the shaft or snapping the teeth off the gear. So these two micro switches, if you're having a problem with this door not opening or closing, either you broke the gear. I would say you'd probably be breaking, based on this looks, you'd probably break this guy at the tip that goes inside here and runs these teeth right here, or the worm gear, which is on the end of the motor right in there, would probably spin off its shaft, meaning the shaft would rotate inside the gear and the gear wouldn't spin anymore. It's a knurled or splined shaft that the gear is pressed on, and you just tear the center of it out. Worst case would be the motor can't turn, everything's nice and tight, so you burn out the motor, which can cause the house to fail. They're not fused, so it can burn up the blob chip on the main circuit board, which is in that base section right here, because the blob chip on that smaller circuit board is only for the lighting. But how this works is when it goes out, I wonder if I can just give you some direct power to give you an idea. So let's see if it even works. So we can get some juice going. Set my power supply at, I'm going to do 3 volts, a little over. The reason I say 3 volts is these little hobby motors can usually run between 1 and 9 volts, depending on the part number. And I'm going to clip. Because the micro switch isn't engaged, that's what these other wires are for, this would just... Oh, never mind. Apparently it did disengage or the motor burned out. Yeah, because it's pegging the amperage draw. So that's all the way out. As you see, when it goes all the way out, this little fella pushed up, and this brings it back in. And if you noticed, the drawer came all the way in and this pulled down. And it's not going anywhere because the micro switch is pressed. How this works is it just reverses polarity through these cables. So I'll show you again. It's going out. So the door stops, but the mechanism, because this is a slip piece, pushes, which pushes this up. You reverse polarity. What it's supposed to do, and that's because I don't have it in this drawer, It's supposed to pull the guy down first, like that, and then go in. It's not doing it because I do not have it inside the actual housing. So, one more time. Also, it's probably full of dirt. So, here's the mechanism going up. Reverse polarity. Let's put a little bit of a load on the bottom. Guy goes down, and then it would go in. Let's give it full power and see what it does. Like I said, I'm only running it at 3.2 volts. Here's 4.5 volts. Much faster. There you go. So, if you're having a problem with this guy laying flat, which I have had on my own personal house, there's a couple ways to fix it without dismantling it unless you lost the micro switch or the gears. This big plate slides independently from this little plate. They are on the same gearbox, and what it does is when it engages, it's like a clutch, an automatic transmission, the torque converter, not a clutch, but the torque converter. When you sit at a stoplight, the engine's still spinning, but the transmission isn't turning anything to the wheels because your foot's on the brake. When you let off the brake and you start to roll, this piece starts to move independently from this piece, and then once it hits the end, it then engages and pushes it out, and then reverse that for pulling it back in. Dirt, dust, this is mostly dirt, because this was an outside house, literally outside in the yard. Got inside here, and that's why I have to add resistance, as well as it's not inside of the housing to help put resistance on it. So this is one of those resetting houses, and this is a really tough thing to do. You need to kill the power, as in unplug it, when the drawer is all the way extended. I know it's highly recommended you don't do that, but this is the only way you can clean this. So let it go all the way out, lift up the dude, then get in here, clean it. If you have compressed air, blow it out. A little rubbing alcohol and a Q-tip. Kind of get in here. It's going to be hard because you're going to be doing it inside of this indentation in the house where it's recessed. And then let it air dry. A small amount, I'm talking like a drop, maybe a half a drop of 3-in-1 oil, and put it on this track. Because this center track has to slide independently from this outer track, or else it'll close with the guy sitting up, and you can break the guy off and wedge this, snap a gear, and cause the house not to reset because these micro switches aren't engaging, sending the signal to the circuit board. So, sounds complicated. It's not terrible. Bring that in, close it. So I don't break it off in case I need to use the parts for something. So, pull it out, crack off this piece. I'd recommend a heat gun to break the glue. I was able to break it really easy because this was an outdoor house, and in the sun in Arizona it made the glue brittle. And over time the glue gets brittle anyhow. I used which I used in a previous video, it's like a spudger. It's a hardened piece of aluminum. It's not flexible like a real spudger. It bends. And you can use a small blade screwdriver, like an electronic screwdriver like that, and slowly work around and crack off the top. Reach down, unscrew the one screw right here that holds on the fascia, and then carefully maneuver it. If the drawer is all the way out, again, turning off the power, unplugging it, it's going to be easier. I had the drawer all the way in, so I didn't have as much wiggle room to put the angle. Again, I know that turning them off is bad, but unfortunately it's the only way to do it that I know of, since Lemax doesn't tell me how to fix their houses, because they probably don't want you to fix them, they just want you to go buy another one. Capitalism. So, anyhow, so if the drawer is all the way out, it'll be a lot easier to twist this at a slight angle to get that fascia or drawer door housing off. Pull this out the bottom, it's just held in with glue. I know there's screw holes, but you can't screw into the porcelain. There's no holes. And then pull it out. If you want to dismantle it further, it's just a couple of screws, as you can see. There's a screw here, a screw here, a screw here, and a screw here. You undo those screws, you can get to the gearbox inside. We'll do real quick just so you guys can see what it looks like. If you want to unscrew the micro switch for the back, there's a screw there. The micro switch screw does not go through to the second level, only screws into the top level boss. And there's your second level. Your second level, you got the worm gear. And then you have the different drive gears which change the speed and torque required to make this work. And then here's your second micro switch. The second micro switch is staked and glued. So there's a plastic stake that goes into this base, and then they just have glue, resin, hardened glue, not super glue, it's the hard glue. This would be the gear I'd say that would fail because of these smaller teeth right here, and you can see the pressure, darkness on the edges, especially for me holding it with my finger. I believe that would be the first standard gear to fail, and then the second gear would probably be this worm gear. It would probably slip off the actual motor. Here's the bottom. These two screws are basically captive because they're under the tray. If the tray was fully extended, the screws would fall out because they're actually under the lip. Here's the bottom, and you can see now that there's no motor attached. If I pull it forward, the screws come right out. Well, at least one did. And then you got two metal stoppers right there as a positive stop. They also help with the micro switch because I'm sure yeah, they're magnetic. So, but here is that gear where the teeth for the gear, and you can see that. So you can actually take the next layer off, so you can get a basic idea. And you can see that that is independent. And when I move that, you'll see that the teeth move back and forth without the drawer moving back and forth. It's a little sticky because it's dirty. That's why if this thing tries to close with the guy up, this bar with the teeth, I apologize, I can't remember the name offhand of what they call that, is sticking. And what causes the stickiness is dust, dirt, mainly dust. Most people don't put these outside. So, pretty simple. Hardest part is getting to it because you need to remove the bottom of the porcelain, as well as take the top off and unplug the circuit boards. Once you get this out, it's a pretty simple fix. You just got to find the gears or find the motor. It's a standard hobby motor. You just need to find one of the same size to fit into the indentations in the plastic. Most of these, like I say, will run between 1 and 9 volts. I have not tested this to see what the max voltage is, but let's, what the heck, let's give it a whirl. Without the guy on the top, this technically should just spin continuously. Like so. That's 9 volts. That's 10 volts, yeah. And that's 1 volt. Yeah, that's a half a volt. That's not going to produce enough power, and the motor is getting warm. It doesn't have enough power to actually turn correctly. So yeah, this is a standard hobby motor that's 1 to 9 volts. It took it up to 10, but you could hear the pitch changed. So if this breaks and you need to replace the motor, you can find hobby motors. A lot of these use pancake motors. These are pancake motors. Very common in electronics like CD players, cassette players. They're variable voltages. Most of them are up to 12 volts. Like this is a pancake motor out of a cassette player, one of those big old school ones from like the 70s. This is a 3 to 12 volt motor pancake. Most Lemax doesn't use something this large, but you can either just cross-reference the numbers that are usually on them or stamped into the actual metal and buy replacements. Or you can take this out and take it to a hobby store if you have one left. With COVID, a lot of places are permanently shut down, and just match it up. If it doesn't come with a worm gear, you can just pull this off carefully. That's one of the reasons I have this tool. If you look at the shape, it fits on the shaft and allows me to pry up on the gear and, that's the notch, pull the teeth off. It's not what I made this for, but it works for it. This was actually made for old RC cars when you had to change the springs on them. You had to put the tool in and compress the spring to release pressure off the nut, and then you could pull the spring off. That's what I made this for. But it does work as a pulley and gear remover. It fits in, and then I can lift and then pull the pulley off. So you can make your own. This is just a piece of aluminum stock that I had lying around. You get it at hardware stores, and I just put a little bend on it so I have leverage. So, anyhow, hopefully this helps. If you have to remove this part of your mausoleum, I had a request about this section, and I know in my other video, I don't believe I pulled this section out because the problems were on the other side of the mausoleum. Since it's got 3 animatronics, you got the drawer, the door, and the cremation or crematory chamber, plus the lights on the top and the lights on the front. So, if you have any questions, leave a comment or shoot me an email. Email's in the description of the video, and we'll do what we can to help you out in getting your stuff fixed and or keep it going. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.